Greetings folks, and I hope the collecting gods are smiling on you wherever you are. And welcome back to the channel for another 1/10 scale figure unboxing and review. Well, let's get this right. It's a figure, but not an action figure. It's more of a 1/10 scale statue, sort of in the vein of Iron Studios stuff. And today it's the turn of the legend that is Chuck Norris as Matt Hunter from the ultimate 1980s B-movie actioner, Invasion USA. Brought to us by SD Toys, and any movie that is written by and stars Chuck Norris single-handedly fending off a Soviet-Cuban invasion of the United States gets my thumbs up and vote every day of the week. So slightly different change to format, folks. It'll be box, then we'll have a look at the figure. Probably won't be doing a showcase with this one, but the reasons for that will become apparent as we get further on into the review. But before we dive in, a massive shout out to everyone who supported the channel, and please drop a like on this review and help other people find the channel. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon so you don't miss any of the good stuff that's coming up on the channel. So, background to this, I was actually browsing my local bricks and mortar figure store a few years ago, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, when I came across this stuffed at the back of a display, and I couldn't resist. It was an impulse buy, but I couldn't resist the urge to take it home with me. Chuck Norris has that effect on me, and it's been left unopened in storage ever since. So with Caustic Plastics' announcement of their missing in action figure, and that sort of on the horizon for release pretty soon, I thought now would be a great time to dust off the box, crack those seals, and find out what this little thing's all about. So, Invasion USA, released in 1985, when Chuck and Cannon films were at the height of their powers. It redefined the so bad it's good genre. Let's face it, it's an awful film, but it's fantastically awful. It's amazingly awful, if that makes sense. And probably what saves it from a fate worse than death is the over-the-top action, and of course the demigod that is Chuck Norris. But enough of an old man's 80s nostalgia rambling onto the box, and it's an odd box, I've got to say, and it's an odd piece as well. What you've got on the front is a picture of the figure itself with the diorama base that comes with it. It says Invasion USA across the top, SD Toys top left-hand corner, Matt Hunter 7-inch figure, deluxe edition, and around the sides you've got a shot of Chuck himself. From the poster artwork from the movie, I believe, it says Invasion USA, Matt Hunter again, says deluxe edition on there. I think it's the same thing on the right hand side here as well. Yep, same story on there. Around the back you've got some photos of the diorama with the figure. It says "See you in hell, send me a postcard," a quote from the movie itself, and it says Invasion USA on the top there. On the top of the box itself, Invasion USA again, and all the same details. Just says flammable on the bottom there. And I've got to say, SD Toys is a new one on me. I hadn't heard of them until I picked this particular piece up and then did a little bit of background. And they do an awful lot of 1/10 scale figures, sort of statuettes, dioramas, that kind of thing. But yeah. Around the back, you've got all the usual credits and warnings. Don't piss this figure off, or it'll hit you with so many rights, you're going to beg for a left. It's got a magnetic clasp on the front, this box, which is rather unusual. And I've got to say as well, this came in at a price point. I don't normally quote prices on pieces when I'm reviewing them, but let's say for argument's sake, this one came in under £40. Let's put it that way. But yeah, magnetically clasped box. You open it up, and what you are greeted with is the figure itself and the diorama base on the right hand side with this clear plastic window, and on the left hand side, danger, explosive material, and all this kind of flame effects going on as well. So yeah, that's your box. Pretty nicely presented it is too. It's not the best packaging I've ever seen, but it's not the worst by a country mile. So yeah, there's the box. That's the box. So as I say, been sat gathering dust for a number of years now. Seal's still intact, so we'll do what we always do. We'll crack those seals open. We'll get Chuck out, and we'll have a close-up look at him. Okay folks, so here he is. It's Chuck himself out of the box, onto the turntable, onto his diorama base. We've constructed him because he actually comes in three pieces, this side section, and Chuck himself actually pegged directly into the base. First impressions, I would normally give first impressions at this point in a review, but I've had a chance to look at this figure through the clear plastic window in the box over the years, and I've grown to love it for all its faults. It's a bit like the movie. It's so bad it's good. I don't mean to be derogatory to SD Toys. I'm sure they are committed to their work and put every effort in. And I've got to remember that this thing comes in at a very low price point as well. But yes. Is it the highest standard of work in the 1/10 scale world? No, it's not. But we'll do as we always do. We'll stop it from spinning and have an up-close look at Chuck. We'll get it off the turntable, and we'll take a look at the individual pieces. We'll put that turntable to one side for the time being and rest him on the table. So yeah, as I mentioned, comes in three parts. You get this sign which simply slots in here. I'll just take this out, and it's all one piece of sculpted plastic. Says closed area, no trespassing on there. And yeah, it's pretty nicely painted. You've got this metallic silver paint on the pole itself, and the sign's nice and crisp and clear. I don't think that's a sticker, although I could be wrong. Yeah, it looks like it's actually a sticker on the top of the sign there. So yeah, that's the sign. And the only other detachable piece is Chuck himself. So we'll get him off the stand, and there's a peg there, as I mentioned, and have a quick look at him. Yeah, the paint applications here and the sculpt are very basic. We'll get the elephant in the room out of the way. Start with that head sculpt. Yeah, it's not the best I've ever seen in 1/10 scale. I mean, they made a fist of it, SD Toys. I'll give them that, and you know, it is recognisable as Chuck Norris, but yeah, perhaps not the best sculpt I've ever seen. But I suppose what it lacks in Chuckness, it makes up for in semi-decent quality paint applications. The hair's pretty well done and it's the right colour, as is the beard. The face itself is completely off. It puts me in mind of somebody who I used to go to school with many years ago. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to offend him, and I'm not going to be too harsh about the figure either because I don't want to offend Chuck Norris. The last thing you want is Chuck Norris tracking you down. But yeah, the paint applications are quite basic, but the outfit is screen accurate. It's that sleeveless denim vest. You've even got an attempt to paint in his hairy chest there. Paint application is very simple. The attempts to capture hair on the arms here as well with sort of single brush strokes by the looks of it. Colours are quite flat and, forgive the pun, quite matte. The jeans have got some dirtying up on them, but it's very basic. It looks like they've been painted blue and then given a sort of dry brushing or semi-wet wash with a yellowy greeny colour to give it that slightly dirtied up look. They've sculpted in the belt there as well. The micro Uzis that he's carrying are pretty decently sculpted. The strap and harness section is all sculpted plastic. I believe this is PVC plastic, the whole thing, including the diorama base. But yeah, that's Chuck. He's pretty good. I don't know. I'm about to say I've seen worse, but I'm trying to remember when. But overall, yeah, it gives a good impression of Chuck as Matt Hunter in Invasion USA, if not the best sculpt and paint applications I've ever seen. As I mentioned before, he's got pegs in his feet there, so you've got just a single peg here, and we'll take a quick look at this diorama base. Now, this is all plastic and relatively straightforward and relatively simply done. I mean, you've got this what's obviously meant to be a street scene here with the paving slabs, and there's some decent paint applications on here. There's some washes in the sculpt to pick out these cracks and crevices, and then there's sort of this individual bits of rubble strewn around on the base itself. What looks like some screwed up paper there, and then you've got these sandbags at the back, and they're quite nicely done. I have to admit, the sculpt on these sandbags is pretty impressive. They put some brown washing on there as well, just to pick out the detail and give it that depth. And they painted the back as well, which looks good. You've also got this oil drum, which for some reason says Invasion USA on it, just in case you didn't know. I suppose it saves on the price of a name plaque. And what I do like on this barrel, I mean, it's in proportion and nicely shaped. You've got these sort of bullet holes going on, these dints where this oil barrel's been hit by a small arms fire by the looks of it, and they picked out those holes with silver paint application to make it look scratched and and make it look like it's been authentically hit by a bullet fire. Talking of bullets, you probably already noticed scattered around this base there are numerous shell casings, these gold painted shell casings, which are all part of the sculpt itself, and they're really nicely done. This sort of brass look shell casing cover. Only issue I've got with these shell casings is if you actually look at the scale going on here. I'll pop this down for a second. If you actually get an impression of the size, these 1/10 scale micro Uzis or Uzi pistols, the shells are completely off. You'd probably get one, maybe two of those shells into a magazine for these guns. So yeah, shell casings, shall we say, are slightly off scale, but yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, there you have it. Let's put him back together again, and let's get him back on the turntable. What can I say about this piece? I'm not going to do a showcase with this particular video because I don't mean to sound harsh, but I don't think I could improve the piece by, shall we say, altering the lighting. We'll bring back in the turntable at this point and get him spinning again. I'm not going to score this figure either. I think that would be a little bit unfair. I bought this, I won't say on a whim. I'm a huge Chuck Norris fan for all the wrong reasons, if that makes sense. But I'm not going to score it because I think it would be a little bit unfair. It's a one-off. I have no other experience of SD Toys stuff. I believe they're a Spanish company, and I don't want to piss them off, and like I said before, most certainly don't want to piss Chuck off. So I'm going to hang fire on a score on this because yeah, it would probably end up being low, and the reason for me picking up this piece is because it puts a smile on my face, and it still does. I like it because, excuse me, I like it because it is so bad it's good, the same way the film was. So for me, it keeps up that film's aesthetic perfectly by being pretty appalling, if that makes sense. So I love it for its faults. And there you have it, folks. That is SD Toys' take on Matt Hunter, aka Chuck Norris, from the now classic action movie from the 80s, Invasion USA. Do you have this piece in your collection? What are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on Chuck? What are your thoughts on SD Toys? What are your thoughts on the movie? I would be fascinated to hear. And I hope you've enjoyed this mini review without a score. I suppose all that remains for me to say is a massive thank you for watching. And as always, as I mentioned at the top there, please mash that subscribe button and bell notification icon so you're not missing any of the good stuff coming up on the channel. And trust me, there's a lot of it. In the 1/10 scale world, we have stuff from NECA. In the 6 scale world, we have stuff from Pure Arts, from InArt, from Hot Toys, from Susu Toys, Present Toys, 3.0. The list is endless. So yeah, mash that subscribe button and bell notification icon. And I suppose all that remains for me to say is a massive thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'm resisting the urge to say over to the showcase because that's what I always do at this point. Instead of that, I will just say take care of yourselves, happy collecting, and see you next time on the channel.